Okay, so to summarize the second paradigm, identity plays a role in resistance to persuasion, unwillingness to compromise, and intergroup mistrust. But affirmations of alternative identities can help to overcome these biases and these, on average, adverse effects. Okay, third paradigm. The role of constructive criteria in licensing discrimination while allowing people to maintain an illusion of personal objectivity and meritocracy. So you can look at discrimination using attention system representation. Overall level of discrimination is on the y-axis. This is an incredibly oversimplified model. On the one hand, you have prejudicial beliefs, sexist and racist beliefs pushing up the overall level of discrimination. On the other hand, you have meritocratic norms, norms to be fair and to be egalitarian, to judge people on the basis of their merits rather than their group memberships, pushing down discrimination. Well, this is a tension. How do people resolve this tension between prejudicial beliefs and norms to be meritocratic? Eric Ullman and I, as well as actually several others who stumbled upon this idea right around the same time, came up with this notion that people can resolve this tension between prejudicial beliefs and meritocratic norms by changing their definition of merit. And we find evidence that people spontaneously construct decision criteria in a way that advantages positively stereotyped groups. So let me put some flesh on the bone there. So for instance, Eric and I did a study where participants reviewed male or female, either a male or female candidate for a high status job, such as police chief. The candidate was either book smart or street smart. And then participants rated the importance of various traits, such as book smarts and street smarts, to the job of being a good police chief. How essential are these traits? How important are they to making success at the job guaranteed? And what we found is that, well, whatever the male candidate had was viewed as important. In fact, if you look at the correlation between ratings of the candidate and their judged importance, it's about 0.5. So people go from seeing that this candidate has these traits to thinking that they're important. It's almost as though subjects are thinking, well, let's just find a way to make this guy's assets work for this position. So if the male candidate has book smarts are seen as important. If he doesn't, if he's only street smart, then book smarts are seen as relatively less important. For the female candidate, you get, if anything, the opposite effect is not significant. I'd characterize reactions to the female candidate as more neutral. And it's sort of interesting to think about this psychologically, that subjects are looking at the female candidate and they can sort of feel like they're being neutral and impartial. I'm not letting her credentials affect how I feel about their importance for the job. I'm being cold and impartial and fair. But what they don't realize is that when the candidate is male, they're actually being quite charitable. They're giving the person the benefit of the doubt and trying to find a way for the position to work out for them. So for the female candidate, you don't see this effect at all. And if anything, you see the opposite effect, such that book smarts are rated as more important when the female candidate does not have them. So we argue that people can discriminate with this mechanism while feeling assured that their hiring decisions follow from objective standards of merit. But what they fail to realize is that their judgments of the object, or what they fail to realize is that their standards of judgment, their standards of merit have shifted as a function of the applicant's gender. And we found some correlational evidence of this. We found that participants who constructed, using within subjects analysis, we found that participants who constructed more discrimination justifying criteria, who engaged in more anti-female bias, also viewed their hiring decisions as more objective. So it was, as you were suggesting, it is almost as though people feel as though they're choosing exactly the right man for the job, when in fact they're selecting exactly the right standards for the man. Objectivity also goes in the other direction. Eric and I find that when you make people feel objective, they engage in more discrimination. And it's almost as though it invites in a sort of, I think it, therefore it's true effect. I have this vague inkling that maybe women are worse for this job. If I feel objective, that must mean it's true. And people are more likely to act on their prejudices when they're led to feel objective. So feelings of objectivity can be both causes and consequences of this bias. Okay, well, according to this mechanism, if we understand how it works, then a theory-based intervention strategy might be to get people to pre-commit to their criteria of merit before reviewing applicants. So Same study here, the DV is hiring evaluations, how the sort of major outcome that you care about. Do people hire the male candidate over the female candidate? Among control or criteria uncommitted participants, evaluations, the desire to hire the male candidate is greater than the desire to hire the female candidate. But in a second condition, we have subjects, before reviewing the applicants, commit to criteria of merit. We give them a list of traits and say, is being streetwise important? Is having kids important? Is having family important? We have them commit to these criteria before reviewing the applicants. And in that condition, where subjects are committed, we wipe out discrimination, at least in this paradigm, such that without the wiggle room to shift one's criteria, hiring evaluations actually become objectively more egalitarian. Okay, so to summarize, this talk has addressed the role of ideology and punitive reactions to victims, the role of identity in maintaining beliefs and exacerbating social conflict, and the role of constructed criteria of merit. People define and perhaps redefine criteria of merit in a way that maintains inequality while simultaneously allowing them to feel meritocratic. All this suggests that beliefs, ideologies, and identities can bias thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, and these psychological processes, in turn, can reinforce the very inequality and intergroup divides that brought them about. And finally, theory-based intervention strategies can help attenuate these biases if they're attuned to important underlying psychological processes. Thanks.